All right, welcome to another Lodge of Instruction. I'm your host, Matthew Bradby, and it's been a blessing to be able to be here tonight. Tonight, we're going to go into lesson number six or week six. And do a little recap from last week's lesson. Uh, in previous lessons, we talked about the common gavel, which is a tool used for breaking the past, the 24-inch gauge, mastering time and being disciplined. We did the rough ashlar, which was fixing yourself. We did the perfect ashlar, which was becoming consistent. And on last week, we did the chisel, sharpening your mind, sharpening your focus, sharpening your life. Um, this lesson answers the one question that life has presented many of us, which was, what are you building your life on? What are you building your life on? A lot of people are building their life on money. A lot are building on power. A lot are building on respect. Some are building on legacy. Some building it on wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And these all are very important, but misappropriated or
Mm,
misalignment will cause you to miss a lot of things. So we often have to be very careful when we are dealing with aligning and aligning ourselves properly. This week is one of my favorites, hands down. This week we'll be working on the northeast corner, and we're still on our EA or Entered Apprentice degree focus. The northeast corner, building a life that you can stand, building a life that you can stand. The core principle of the northeast corner is simply a man's life will only be as strong as the foundation he builds it on. A man's life will only be as strong as the foundation he builds it on. Freemasonry teaches that the beginning of a man's journey must be rooted in three elements. Three elements. Those three elements that he must be rooted in is truth, integrity, and purpose. Let me repeat it. Truth, integrity, and purpose. Truth, integrity, and purpose. Every structure begins with a foundation, and that's a missing mark in Freemasonry. We're excited on getting petitions, but the problem is not just the petition itself, it's the building or the basis of why someone wants to be a member, why someone wants to join, who they are, and the why is more important. A lot of people want to get in because the perks, but the perks are outweighed by the work. So a lot of them fall off. Everybody wants success. Nobody wants to die and go to work. You got to understand that if the foundation is weak, the entire structure of life, the entire structure of an organization will fail. Period. If the foundation, if our leadership is weak, and we've seen in times past, the whole structure, the whole lodge, the whole foundation of brotherhood fails. It doesn't matter how good it looks on the outside. You can have a lot of people just doing community service. You can have a lot of people doing this, a lot of doing that. It doesn't matter how impressive it looks. If the foundation isn't solid, it will collapse under the pressure of life. It will collapse under all pressure. It will always collapse. And you got to understand the same is true for a man's life. The same is true for you and our life, my life. Okay. Character is the foundation. of a man. Our character is the foundation of our manhood, the foundation of our existence, the foundation of who we really are. Okay? Gotta understand that. Character, integrity is the foundation, truth is the foundation. Without it, nothing else will stand. People will be hot today, cold tomorrow. Interested and on fire today, not interested, looking for a reason to get out tomorrow. Nothing else will stand without a firm foundation. Now, here's the Masonic lesson I want to drop on you, the Northeast corner. In the Entered Apprentice degree, the candidate is placed in the northeast corner of the lodge. The northeast corner of the lodge. This represents the position of a man who is just starting his journey. This represents the position of a man who is starting his transformation. This represents the position of a man who is laying the first stone of his new life. Let me repeat it. When we place an applicant or an EA candidate in the northeast corner of the lodge, it represents beginning his journey, starting his transformation, and him laying his first stone in life. An operative Freemasonry, an operative Freemasonry, operative Masonry. The cornerstone is the first stone laid. Our lodge, when we was thinking of a name and a new beginning in a new area, I could find no better place to be than for us to say, hey, let's name the lodge Cornerstone because it aligns with the lesson for what we stand for. It is the first stone laid. Okay. Understand it. It's the first stone laid. All right. It sets, okay, it sets the alignment for everything that follows. So that cornerstone sets the alignment for everything that follows. If the cornerstone is off, everything built after it will be off. In speculative masonry, the northeast corner represents the beginning of a man's moral and spiritual foundation. The beginning of a man's moral and spiritual foundation. It is the point where he decides who he will become, what he'll stand for, and what principles will guide his life. You know, if a person is a snake, you know, he is who he is. He stands for his own selfish purposes, and his principles are that of selfishness, and that guides his life. But a master mason, once he stands on his foundation of a moral and spiritual foundation, his focus on who will become, what he'll stand for, and what principles will guide his life. In looking at the esoteric meaning of the northeast corner and that cornerstone, we understand the deeper meaning of the northeast corner is simply alignment and identity. The esoteric meaning of the northeast corner is alignment and identity. Alignment and identity. It represents the moment a man transitions from living unconsciously to living intentionally. You don't just get up in the morning and just go through the motions of life. That's not living. That's a person living unconsciously. You're controlled by events. You're controlled by a schedule. You're controlled by life's issues. But the northeast corner allows the true man seeking life. Okay. He's looking for living intentionally. You move from drifting through life, going through this and that and this and that, to building life, becoming a master builder. You're building your life. You move from just reacting to whatever happens in life to building, to leading, excuse me. You move from just reacting to leading, taking control, taking leadership in life. The northeast corner, my friend, is where a man begins to define himself. And a lot of times I tell candidates and I tell leadership in the newness of Freemasonry, we have to allow a man to sit in that northeast corner for a little longer so when he come out, he can define himself and not tell us just what he thinks we want to hear, but a life where he can demonstrate it through his actions. You know, in the northeast corner is where he begins to grow, not by his past, not by his environment, not by other people's expectations. In that northeast corner, that man will be defined by his values, his principles, and very important, his commitment to grow. His commitment to grow. The esoteric truth is simply this: if a man does not choose his foundation, this world will choose it for him. I need to say that again because, brothers, I need for you to fully grasp the nature of what I'm teaching today. If a man, if an entered apprentice, if a fellow, if a master mason does not choose his foundation wisely, this world and everything in it will choose it for him. Many men build their lives on approval, showing off for people, buying things they can't afford. You can tell they got to put it on social media. They got to talk about it. It's the central part of their life. People's approval. That man is fragile and easily broken. The second thing that men build their lives on, money. And it's crazy because money is nothing more than a tool. It comes and it goes. Some people, when they have money, they're the happiest person in the world. When they don't have it, they go through hell and will do any and everything possible to get it. Then you got others who build their lives on ego. On ego, they tripping. They're focused on any and everything around themselves, self-centered. They got to build their ego. They surround themselves with people who are not wise counsel, but people who are rah-rah, people who will build them up in truth or in folly. They don't care. They just in it for what they gonna get from it. And then the fourth thing men build their lives on is temporary success. Yesterday's win. They keep talking about it. These are all unstable foundations. They all lead to the same place, ruin. They all lead to a place where you spend yourself chasing dreams, chasing ghosts, chasing the good old days, chasing things that have no nominal value. Freemasonry, though, my friend, calls a man to build something far deeper, far deeper. It causes a man to build on truth, not a lie, not what people want to hear, but it causes a person to build on something deeper, truth, integrity. And integrity is a powerful word. Doing the right thing, even when no one's listening, no one sees you. Then one of the most pivotal building blocks is faith. Faith. In order to become a Freemason, you have to acknowledge a supreme being, whether it's Jehovah, whether it's Yahweh, whether you call them Allah, whatever. You have to acknowledge faith. And you have to have faith in the thing that you do. When people are disenfranchised by Freemasonry, you see it. They stop coming to meetings, they have more excuses, they'll go against their oath and their word. Once you touch their Bible and you make your oath, you make your commitment, they don't care. They really don't care. Okay. They just they just in it for themselves. They get self-centered, selfish, ego, excuse driven. They have to have faith. And finally, discipline. Being able to do what they say they're going to do, maintain focus, and do what has to be done. Discipline is also acknowledged as consistency. Consistency. Now, this is where our lesson shifts, the manhood part. Many men are trying to build a successful life. Many men are trying to build a successful life on a weak foundation. On a weak foundation. They want success without discipline. They want respect without integrity. They want leadership without responsibility. These men want growth without commitment. So when pressure comes, their lives begin to crack. Their lives begin to crack. A Mason must ask himself, what is my life truly built on? What is my life truly built on? Because pressure, pain, loss, they all reveals a man's foundation. They all of them. The pressure of life will always build or reveal a man's true foundation. When challenges come, do you stand firm? When challenges come, do you fall apart? This is why we must maintain our commitment to God. This is why we must maintain our commitment to ourselves. This is why we must maintain a commitment to our brothers. Because a strong foundation requires consistency. A strong foundation requires accountability. A strong foundation requires discipline. A strong foundation requires faith. Without faith, you can't please God. A man with a strong foundation can withstand hard times. Sure enough, a man with a strong foundation can survive failure. We will always fail somewhere. And it's not just failure. Failure is good if you learn the lessons of that event. A strong foundation can withstand criticism. You're not stuck in your ego. You can take it and apply it. As a matter of fact, you can even thank a person for it because a critique tells you the truth of what others see. And we should be able to make the adjustments through discipline, through consistency, through accountability, through our faith to fix things in our life. And also, a strong foundation can help a person dealing with setbacks. They feel like you took 20 steps forward and 100 backwards. Setbacks are a part of life. Most people who are successful say a setback It's just a setup for a greater comeback. A setback will allow you to reverse, look at the big picture, and make the necessary steps through consistency, accountability, discipline, and faith. Because he's not the one reason why when you have the consistency, the accountability, the discipline, the faith, these are all help you because you're not easily shaken when life just happens. When life just happens, you're not shook, you know, you're not stressed. You feel some kind of pain, you have an emotion, but through consistency and discipline, you don't allow these things to run rampant over you that you can't make the proper decisions. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you this. What principles are you building your life on right now? What principles are you building your life on right now? What principles? Is it consistency? Is it accountability? Is it discipline? Is it faith? What principles are you building your life on right now? And that's very important so that we have to answer. What principles are you building your life on now? Is it consistency? Is it accountability? Is it discipline? Is it faith? I need someone to pop on and answer that question. What principles are you building your life on right now? Let's stay on that focus. Do I have a person? What principles are you building your life on right now? Well, let me tell
Man,
you from my point. Okay.
why am I always the only one talking?
Hey,
I
brother.
would say being a man of my word. So it would have to be accountability or discipline.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And then why would you say that you're starting, out of all the four principles, you are using this?
I really don't have a reason why, but I mean, if I was the guest, I would probably say that is one of the I mean, before four, you always a work in progress for all, right? But right now, especially with the endeavor that we're taking, I would probably say being able to check the box that you completed something takes discipline, right? That way you can, because people will only trust you. No one trusts you if you can't be a person of your word. When you give your
Facts.
word, then that's just as saying I'm making a contract with you. So if you don't give your word, I mean, if you give your word and you go back on it, then you are breaking a contract. So you're untrustworthy,
Hmm.
right? And when people talk, that's one of the things that they say is that they are man of their word. If you're a man
Hmm.
of your word or a person of your word, if you do what you say you're going to do, then whatever you say you're going to do, you keep it, regardless of whatever it is, you keep it. Now, if you can't do it, you have to be upfront and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to do it by the time that I said, but I'm still going to
Hmm.
do it, right? Because
Right.
it's just things came about. If you
Hmm.
just going about making promises and then saying, oh, I can't do it, and you're just taking the short, right? Then
Hmm.
it's not worth it. I mean, we can't trust one another at that point.
Hmm. Facts. Big facts. Definitely. Definitely. Another brother, I want you to pop on. What principles are you building your life on right now? Another brother. What principles are you building your life on right now? Someone pop on. And those principles or foundations are consistency, accountability, discipline, and faith.
Bro.
Okay. Okay, bro. Brother Roosevelt.
Yeah. I'm
What
building mine
principles
on truth.
on what?
The truth and facts.
Okay,
It is
what
what it
that's
is. It is what it
okay.
is. And you
So
got to hold yourself accountable and responsible for all your actions. You can't keep
okay,
blaming everybody for your faults.
so using accountability and discipline.
Yeah.
Okay. Accountability and discipline. Good, good. That's a good one right there.
I said
Accountability and discipline.
accountability and responsibility.
Well, that's not one of the foundational points of the
I
lesson
mean,
today.
discipline is same
Yeah,
wordplay.
discipline being able to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those things, and then you can even venture off to consistency, consistently doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. You want to
That's
be able to do
when
the
it's
right thing.
most important. That's when
Yeah.
it's most important. When ain't nobody around, is you gonna do the right thing.
Right.
Because
Right.
only you
Right.
and God know what really went on.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna be held
Mm-hmm.
accountable for
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. So while you on Roosevelt, I'm gonna give you another one. Question: Have you experienced a time when your foundation was tested? What happened?
it. I'll give you 1,000 times my foundation been tested. Even recently,
Mm-hmm. So give us an
when
example, a short
I
example.
thought when I felt I was being disrespected. That's
Mm-hmm.
I live on respect.
Okay.
I don't bother nobody. But
Right.
you know me. And
Right.
if I feel that you disrespect me, sometimes I can go left. And it can go left real quick.
So here's an issue, Brother Roosevelt. Um, when a man lives his life based on his ego, as opposed to his truth, integrity, faith, and discipline, a lot of times the enemy or your enemies will use that, as said in the 48 laws of power, to break your will, to cause you to act out of emotion as opposed to calculated chess moves. So,
That hard.
yeah, so what we have to do as masters, we are all master masons, is to master that. And as in the 48 laws of power, to pick and choose your battles. Some things are not just important because they do it in a public way, because a loser has no way to go. The only people who are tested like this are when people attach themselves to you and try to play on your emotions or your ego or one of your respected things. You say respect is big with you, but the people know that respect is very important to you and they use it as a weapon. Whereas we have to learn, in this dispensation, that weak men will say, hey, let's play them on this and pull them to our level, but through the foundational principles of consistency, accountability, discipline, learning how to act. Okay, you say what you want to say. You may stay quiet. You may just look at them. You may remove yourself from the thing. It's a
That's
more
the best thing
powerful
to do.
weapon, right? Because if they get you, see, the enemy wants to destroy your children. They want to destroy your legacy. They want to corrupt your family. They want to take everything from you. And if they can get you to act out of order in this age of camera phones and cameras around, it can destroy
Everything
a
on camera.
millennium. Exactly. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is that during hard times, understand I don't need to open myself for unfair criticism because they don't see the whole video. They just see the reaction and not the action that caused the reaction. But as
Yeah.
master masons and looking at that northeast corner, it's the place where your journey is built. In that northeast corner, you got to understand that you're built differently. Master Masons are built different. They ain't the same as a church going, just a guy that goes to church. just a guy that owns a business. That's the man that's part of a fraternity. A master mason is built by God differently because he puts you in that corner, and it's the start of a beautiful life, a beautiful journey. There's its ups, its downs. But if your foundation is strong, you're going to withstand those hard times. You're going to withstand those failures. You're going to withstand the criticisms. You're going to withstand the setbacks because you're not easily shaken and you're definitely built not to be broken. Okay.
Mhm.
So, yeah, all right. So the third question is, and I'm gonna get another. I'm gonna get another person. Another person. How can we as brothers help each other build strong foundations? How can we as brothers help each other build stronger foundations? All right, I need somebody. How can we as brothers help each other build stronger foundations? Just unmute yourself and speak, and announce yourself and then speak. How can we as brothers help each other build stronger foundations? How can we?
It's simple.
Okay.
The way you can help brothers is to go back to that thing that we used to do. You got to hold
Hmm.
each other accountable, right? One, you got
Okay.
to, and by holding each other accountable, you have to not be afraid of what afraid is too well, no, that's the right word to use because people don't do anything or say anything because they are afraid that a person is going to react negatively. So
Hmm.
you as a brother have to hold your brother according to those four principles. If a brother
Right.
is not being accountable, if a
Hmm.
brother is not showing his faith, if a brother
Hmm.
is not, what's the other two?
Consistency and discipline.
If a brother is not being consistent in what he says he's going to do, and if a brother is not being disciplined, meaning it could be something simple, right? Something simple as you in the lodge and or you in a conversation and a person is talking and you overtalk that person, or
Hmm.
you know you are not showing up for a meeting. I'm trying to use simple things where because you got
Hmm.
to start small, right? Starting
Hmm.
small meaning it's those little things that you do. So something as simple as, for instance, lodge of instruction, like what you say. Brothers said that they wanted to learn, right? So
Hmm.
accountability is if you were one of the ones that said you wanted to learn, yet you not one of the ones that's on this call when it's on, right? Then we have to hold you accountable because you said you wanted something. We made it so that you can get that something, and yet you're still not doing what's needed in order for you to get the edification that you need, right?
Fact.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one that said that you need this, right? You say
Hmm.
you want to be a part of this thing. Well, to be a part of this thing, you got to be doing those four things, right? So
Hmm.
we need to hold each other accountable across the board. It doesn't matter whether or not it's the worshipful master all the way
Hmm.
down to the EA. Everybody,
Hmm.
once they take the obligation, they are supposed to be holding one another accountable. For instance, I can say I was on a call the other day with it was with some brothers, and it was not even about masonry, right? But at least during the call, and it wasn't like the brother, it was a check, but it wasn't a check, right? Because I wasn't
Hmm.
being disciplined. I was saying
Okay.
something, and um, while I was saying it, the brother just was like, "Well, hold on, bro. You know, you got to let me talk first." right? And once
Mm-hmm.
he said that, I caught on to what I was doing, right? Because at the point, I wasn't being disciplined in what I was doing, right? And so now, after that conversation, now I'm cognitive of when I'm talking to people now, since I have the tendency to see a negative, right? So since
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency to see the negative, I know that about myself. So if I'm in a conversation and I believe that the conversation, the person may be saying something that is negative or may be attacking me, especially when I feel as though I have explained it, I then start asking questions. I then start trying to make sure we're on the same page, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason why, one, now you might get a call from me before I put something in writing on the phone or in text message or something, right? Because one, in a telephone conversation, it's a controlled narrative, right? We're communicating with
Mm-hmm.
one another. Whereas in with me, when somebody is texting, you're talk typing at me, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
tone gets confused, which means that if you're a person like me, that I feed off of what I believe that you are putting off, I am going to
Mm-hmm.
respond equally or more, which is a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's just
Mm-hmm.
part of my nature. So now I'm trying to control that. I got to have discipline to do that, right? Because if not, I tend to start messing up things that I shouldn't be messing up because of something that is part of my nature right now. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or at least
Got you
that's my
100%.
2 cents.
Man, very well valued. Um, and transparent because a lot of leaders and a lot of brothers won't admit it. I mean, it's just a fact of life that as we grow and as we live, there's going to come a time where the northeast corner, the place where our journey begins, the northeast corner representing that cornerstone, the place where strong foundations are built, that you can come out and say, hey, now I had to make a change. Why? Because I understood consistency, accountability, discipline, and faith makes me do that. I have to be more consistent. I have to be accountable to myself and others. I have to practice discipline regardless of what others are doing. You cannot allow your discipline to be corrupted by what other people are doing. And you got to maintain your faith both in God, yourself, and your brothers. If we have no faith in the men that we serve with, what winds up happening is we lose all standing for that brother. Okay, we lose we lose faith in the organization, and I can admit that I had been through again in my life 2 organizations of Freemasonry, and because of ego, because of certain things, some of those things we talked about before, um, it hampered our success as a unit. And I always say, I don't care what your title is in Freemasonry, is bigger than your title and bigger than one person. And that person, if you're mature enough, should understand that it's nothing I should be doing that's causing people to leave. If I'm causing people to leave in a mass exodus, it's got to be me. The common denominator has to be me. And then I have to look in the mirror and say, hey, mirror, mirror on the wall, you know, who is, causing all, everything to fall. And if you're the only one in the mirror, you know it's you. So what you have to do is you have to make things right. You got to be able to accept the criticisms, accept the hard times and failures, and come back right. Although you may not never rekindle the relationships you had on that level, or that person come back and work with you in Freemasonry. Excuse me. But the one thing you can say is, I made amends. I made amends. And some people will never do that, and they'll live a long, miserable life because they're not relying on consistency. They're not using the foundations of accountability. They're not using the foundations of discipline and faith. And I was sharing with one of the brothers in the car as we were going home, and I was talking about, as we sat down and we talked with the Supreme Council. And there's no disrespect to nobody because I don't have an ego when it comes down to stuff. I mean, I've walked on many levels. So, it was like, well, you were 33rd, and this is, I said, I really don't care. And I'm being honest and I'm not being disrespectful. What is a degree where you have no foundation? My focus here, and as I told Worshipful Master here, is that we need to build those first 3 degrees. I'm building the elementary school. Who cares about college if the kids don't learn what they need to learn on the elementary level? Um, Without a strong foundation, we doomed to fail as we teach it in this lesson. So the first 3 degrees is the northeast corner, that cornerstone, that firm foundation. If you can survive those first three, you'll be able to survive in 4 through 32 because 33 is an honorary. Okay. It's an honor. So that's where it really stands in my life. I'm not pressed about a title. I got enough work on the third level, in the blue house, before I start rising up. You got to understand that the northeast corner is not just a place in the lodge. It's not just a place in the lodge. It's the moment. It's a moment in a man's life. It's a moment in a man's life. A moment where he decides, I will build differently. Everything I've done in life, I can admit it wasn't all right, it wasn't all wrong. But while in that northeast corner, that's the moment where I say, you know what, I'm gonna do this different. I'm going to build on consistency. I'm going to build on accountability. I'm gonna build on discipline. I'm gonna build on faith. Freemasonry teaches that strength in your life will be determined by the strength of your foundations. Strength in your life will be determined by your foundation. So I'm encouraging you, brothers, everybody listening, everybody watching this video, I'm going to encourage you to build it right, to build it right, to build it on integrity, doing the right thing even when others not looking. I'm going to encourage you to build it on discipline, being able to say no to your fleshly desires and to consistently do things the right way. Keep your word. Be that truth. Be that example that somebody can say, you know what? He may not be perfect, but he was disciplined. To build it with purpose. You have to have without vision, people perish. I'm always building on vision. I say within the next year, I'm building a nonprofit. I'm building that nonprofit to be sustaining, to be a help in the world, to free me up to do the work in the community I need to do, to free me up to do the ministry that I need to do, and to free me up to be the best darn fraternal brother there ever was. So within this next 12 months, I'm building some things. I'm helping my wife live her vision. I'm helping my family do the thing they want to do, community service. My son wants to say, brought it to our attention that there's a lot of kids in the cancer ward who are teenagers. That most of the stuff they bring around to keep people going through cancer who are the young people is little kid stuff 12 and under. They don't do stuff from the teen level. And he said the one thing that helped him through his course of cancer was his headphones. He gave him some simple Bluetooth over the ear earphones which allowed him to tune out life, attach it to the phone, and for him to just listen to music, listen to his Bible study and stuff. And he said, out of all the gifts he got, and he got a lot of them, it was those headphones that made the difference. And he shared with me how other kids, love headphones. So out of that, we incorporated that in our give back to the community as our nonprofit to help teens. I said the one thing I want to give back within the nonprofit is assistance to vets. helping them get everything they deserve, meeting their needs. The most damnable thing in our world is a man that'll go to war on a drop of a dime and then come back home and not receive the respect that he deserves. And for you to have to go through the whole thing with getting your disability is insane. A man fought a war and got to come back and prove to you that the trauma that he went through, it causes his action. That's goofy. The man went. You got the record in front of you. So why are you doing it? So I wanted to build upon that, and I met with several great individuals, including two lawyers who were willing to do pro bono work. So we're putting that together. And then most importantly, right now in my life is building Cornerstone, the DC Grand Lodge, which is Capital Grand Lodge 100, and to get our chapters going. So they are my endeavors that keep me busy, because I'm building it with integrity, I'm building it with discipline, I'm building it with purpose. Because when life storms come, brothers, when life storms come, only will we build on a solid foundation is going to stand. Period. Only what we build on a solid foundation will stand. And I see that with our Grand Lodge and our Supreme Council. They are built on a militaristic, firm, disciplined foundation. Not saying they're perfect, but I love their militaristic stance that makes me want to be part. Now, I know there's going to be some issues. There's issues in every organization created by man, but I can rock with people who have vision, who are building it and keep it consistent. Okay. Now, for the homework, I know you guys want some homework for this week. Um, the homework for this week is I need for you to reflect on your foundation. I need for you to reflect on your foundation. I need for you to ask yourself this: what do I truly stand for as a man? What do I truly stand for as a man? I need you to write down 3 principles that will guide your life.
You
3. Hello?
you gonna give context to the? I'm sorry. I'm
Oh, no, no,
sorry.
no. Please do.
I'm speaking out of, I'm speaking out of
No,
turn.
I want you. I got you, sir. I yield. I digress. Go on.
Um,
Ask the question.
are you gonna put that with context
As far
for
as
what kind of man? The question. What
no,
kind? What you say? What kind of
what,
man you? What kind?
what, what do I truly stand for as a man? And it
Yeah.
says
So
write down 3 principles that will guide your life. What do I stand for as a man? That's what you got to ask yourself. What do I stand for as a man? Write down 3 principles that will guide your life, then to commit to living them daily. Because a master mason doesn't just build randomly, we build intentionally. So it's almost like a loaded question, but in fact, it's just a reflection. It's a reflective study of yourself. This week, reflect on your foundation, where you are right now. And then it says, ask yourself, what do I stand for as a man? What do I right now stand for as a man? And then you write down 3 principles that will guide your life, then commit to living them daily. Okay. You got to realize it. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a quick summary of this lesson. This lesson reinforced: 1, identity and purpose. Identity and purpose. 2, integrity and principles. Integrity and principles. 3, stability under pressure. Stability under pressure. 4, which I love the most, intentional living. living on purpose. And finally, foundation before success. And as a lodge, we have to build a foundation before we can expect any type of success. We can't expect to bring in 25 people right now in this order. It has to have a strong foundation. Brothers able, like the MP said, able to open and close without a book. That if you were blindfolded, that you can hear people speaking with a purpose. It may not be verbatim, and you ain't got to stop because you missed a word, but you know what you know that you know, and you perform it. That you can initiate somebody and not be stumbling because that attacks your credibility. And you can't make excuses. I didn't have time to learn my part. Why? Did you have time to sleep? Did you have time to go to the bathroom? Did you have time to watch your favorite show? Hmm? If you had time to watch a TV show, if you had time to eat lunch, you had time to eat it, you can make time to do your part. Excuses is for the weak, and you cannot allow any weakness to survive in your daily life today. So you have to build a foundation before success. Because the most important thing, brothers, our principles and what we stand for prepares each of us for the next level of living. It prepares each of us for the next level of living. Okay? It prepares ourselves for the next level of living. Our next lesson that we will partake in on the EA degree that everybody, EA, fellow craft, or master mason, have to master. And that principle next week will be brotherhood, the power of men building together. Brotherhood, the power of men being building together. One of the most powerful principles. And I would love everybody that's connected to us to be on here because I feel there, and I'm not, if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, feel free to disagree. I believe that we all love being Masons. We love the signs, the grip, the password. We love the camaraderie. We love the events, but we're not really, a lot of people are not building towards the brotherhood. It's way more than events. It's way more than black suits, bow ties, and aprons. Brotherhood is the power of men building together. And I was telling Work Master, this week is a pivotal week. And our first meeting on the 1st of May is going to be very important for the simple fact that whoever comes out, whoever's there becomes a founding member of the lodge. Those that don't, and I told them it's time to move on. We cannot continue to accept excuses. When I went down the log and I talked to all the brothers and asked, what can I do to make it better? They all said, we need these lessons. But I'm looking at 5 brothers, week in and week out, on this Zoom call and getting the lessons. And I'm even making them available on YouTube. And can I share this with you, brothers? I looked at the numbers of people even tuning in, and those brothers haven't even tuned in. I can tell you who did because I got a breakdown because we have a business account. I can almost tell you from each YouTube uh, account who went there to look at the videos and how long they watched them. So I'm doing this now as a marker. I may redo everything over in my studio to give it effect and stuff like that. But I want this to be a legacy mark that when we finish all of the degree work and the 12 weeks and the tools and everything, that we can use this over and over again to sharpen the craft. because I don't care what you learn verbatim. I need to know that you're applying these things in your heart, that you have an identity and a purpose, that these lessons are helping to build integrity and principles, that these lessons are building stability for you when you go under life pressure. Excuse me. That you're living intentionally and that you're having a strong foundation for success. That's why I told the gentleman the other day, you can't get married without building your foundation because you're setting yourself up for failure. And he said, how so? And I said, you can't be living with a woman. She needs to come live with you because the minute the fire of life hits her, she's going to remind you. She's going to remind you, okay, that you live in my house and you lose all power when you live outside of the authority that God created. You're the king, you're the head, you're the high priest. She can come live with you, but you don't need to be in underneath her roof because her roof, her rules, her roof, her God, her roof, her way. So it's important that you got to build yourself to be the most powerful man on God's green earth. You're built to live intentionally. You're built to live with integrity. You're built with an identity and purpose. And you got to learn to live it and lean on it, even if you have to do it all by yourself. Okay? Because the brotherhood lesson, I'm telling you, y'all, this brotherhood lesson next week, I'm going to tell y'all, it's going to be one that's going to be powerfully emotional. It's going to open up some doors to building, and I think every brother need to be on that this call next week